For Joe Burrow, what impressed me the most was the big games. There were 5 opponents that finished in the top 10 when the season ended. Against those 5 opponents, Joe Burrow had 22 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. And when the pressure was on, he was always at his best.
He was absolutely Joe Cool. Daniel Jeremiah, when you see Joe Burrow, what's the first thing that stands out when you watch the tape?
Well, to me, it's just the poise that he plays with. I look at accuracy, poise, decision-making, playmaking, and Joe Burrow's off the charts in all 4 of those areas. The big leap took place from 18 to 19 because they got 5 guys out into the route, and that's where he was able to spread and shred every single defense he faced with LSU this fall.
All right, we are back on the Just and the Suffering podcast. You just heard Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, and Trey Wingo from the ESPN NFL Network combined draft broadcast breaking down the #1 overall pick, Joe Burrow, going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Joining us today on the podcast to break down the draft, our NFL guy, the host of the Sharp Cheddar podcast, social distancing at his house, the great Joe Delwezio. Joe, welcome. How are you?
Mike, I am doing well. I'm not going to lie. I appreciate being on, but the social distancing, I wish we were back in the studio like we usually do our podcast hits.
Yeah, prior to the social distancing era, there were 2 people who were consistently always in-person guests. It was you and Sam DeRosa. Now you both have been on the phone, so the streak is over.
I'm disappointed that the streak is over, but I'm glad that you're doing well and you're healthy and that we're getting through this and you're still pumping out content.
Yeah, I am pumping out the content. They've had longer episodes lately, but again, people have nothing to do, so I don't mind throwing out 2 hours of stuff people to listen to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so before we dive into the draft, how has the social distancing era been treating you?
It's been okay. There's been times where I'm just bored out of my mind, which I think everyone's going through that. I spent a lot of time reading books. I've watched a couple of shows that I, never had the time to kind of sit down and watch because I feel like I'm always on the move. So I've done a lot of normal things, but a lot more TV than I'm used to, though. That's for sure.
Have you dived into any of the old games yet? Like some people are just watching old games, get their sports fix.
Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. The old games don't do it for me at all. Like, I know the results. I don't care. I don't want to watch it again. Like, even, I'm talking about, like, classics. Like, even the Packers winning the Super Bowl. Like, I've seen that game so many times already. I have no interest. I will admit this, though. Like, I am more into the documentaries. Like, any sports documentary that I haven't seen, I've been diving into those a lot more as well. And, of course, obviously, The Last Dance is must-watch television every Sunday, so, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, I've been onto that as well. I'm going to be recapping that later in the podcast. Our friends Ian Sachs and Austin Stalalo. Let's talk about this draft. So, obviously, this is I got to get credit to the NFL. They gave us some normalcy. They gave us the draft. And what were your thoughts on this whole virtual draft experience?
I thought the NFL draft, I thought the virtual draft, was excellent. I thought they nailed it. I mean, in a time where like everything is down, the NFL somehow figured out a way to make it lively, figured out a way to still come up on top. And it always seems like when you're talking professional sports, the NFL is always cream of the crop. And here they are again with, the world essentially upside down, able to pull it off. They nailed it. Everything. I expected technical disasters. I expected camera feeds to go in and out. I expected maybe someone trying to hack the system, some delays with the picks, but that wasn't the case. And I thought they really did a lot of good research on each prospect. They had to dive a little bit deeper to find some extra stories on these guys. And I love the fact that they really combined the networks, ESPN, you had Daniel Jeremiah, Kurt Warner, Michael Irvin, all breaking it down with, Trey Wingo. I just thought overall they really did a good job.
Yeah, I was impressed with the quality of the draft because I was expecting maybe it's be like the worst case, like, oh, it's like a big Zoom call, but like the video was quality. There was a little lag, which is understandable sometimes, but like the only bones I had to pick with there sometimes, like I get their stretch for content. Like there were times I was in a group chat last week with our friends Martino Pucci and Will Schneiderhan. We were joking that every process was either highlights of them playing basketball or a personal tragedy story. I feel like they were really big on those two things, these guys. But other than that, it was a high-quality broadcast.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's the one thing that I kind of got sick of is the personal high tragedy stories. Like some of them, like yeah, they're great, and like I just felt like every time we were hearing it, and like they would play the same sad music in the background, and it's like, all right, did we really need to know about like X, Y, and Z? I mean, again, they did everything they could to stretch content and stretch time, but in terms of the quality of the broadcast, I mean. Even under normal circumstances, when you're watching, let's say, ESPN or NFL Network, and they cut to a reporter live at the stadium, there's always some sort of a delay. Sometimes it's smooth, but you know, in terms of quality, it really didn't get much better than that. I mean, the one thing that maybe hurt them a little bit virtual was having that like one-on-one interview with each athlete. You know, that's something that you would have seen more in the present time, right? They get drafted, they walk off the stage, and then they're being interviewed by somebody. I know they did that a few times with FaceTime or Zoom or whatever technology they use, but that's really the only thing that was lacking. But it wasn't a big deal because a lot of these prospects jumped on Zoom or a conference call with the team that they got drafted, and you were able to listen to them there. So you know, they filled that void. That way.
Yeah, I liked that for sure. I also say it was fun getting to see all these like coaches and GMs with their families and some of these places they live. I mean, like without this, we never would have seen Cliff Kingsbury's bachelor pad, which is absolutely insane.
Dude, absolutely insane. I kind of just want to go out there and see what it's like. Like I don't want to meet Cliff at all. I just want to go out and see his house and just get a tour. Like, even if he's not there, because that thing looked phenomenal. I thought it was pretty funny when the players were tweeting about it, too. Like, you had Patrick Mahomes saying, like, how do I get a house like that? And you had the honey badger joking around saying, I wonder why they couldn't pay me. Yeah, I just thought that was really funny. And I'm with you. I enjoyed seeing the families around. I enjoyed seeing the pets around. I will admit, though, if I was in that position, I don't think I would have my family around, my kids around, my pets around. I would be way too anxious and way too nervous that, you know, one monitor gets unplugged or something goes wrong. I mean, have you seen the Bill O'Brien clip of him looks like visibly very frustrated and upset and just like yelling at the telephone? Like maybe that had to do with a bad pick or maybe something tech-wise didn't work. So I don't know. I definitely like that dynamic. I like seeing it. It made it feel somewhat normal because that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's home.
Yeah, in terms of the Bill O'Brien thing you referenced, I did find that out online. But apparently, like they had a deal with the Lions for a trade, and the Lions backed out of the deal. So he was screaming about the phone because Patricia backed out of a deal on them. That's what that was.
There you go. I mean, I'm not surprised. It made for good TV though.
Yeah. Also made for good TV was Bill Belichick's dog being on the screen with the cry on Bill Belichick, New England head coach, on there.
I'll tell you what, I think Bill Belichick gained a lot more fans and a lot more brownie points in the eyes of the NFL fans. You know how Bill is. He's smug. He's arrogant. He's obnoxious at times. I think you saw the human side of Bill Belichick a little bit at this draft, especially with that dog scene.
Yeah, I love the Belichick setup because like Bill Belichick does the actual NFL draft like we do our fantasy drafts, like the laptop, the kitchen table, just having his like pens and paper out there, like with his notes. Like he's doing like these little things, as opposed to like some of these giant, elaborate tech sets these people are putting in their houses.
Yeah, and then you got people like Mike Vrabel who's having a frat party in the background. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, what was going on at his house? I just did not understand half of this.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like a lot of people wearing different costumes, potentially someone going to the bathroom with the door open, even though people are saying, no, that's a guy sitting down in khakis. I have no idea what went on in that scene. But I thought what was funny was the ensuing day, you saw nobody and he was riding solo. I could guarantee you the NFL gave coach a call and said, hey, tone it down back there.
Yeah, I'm sure that somebody called up Mike Vrabel and said, what the hell's going on out
here? Exactly.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell. One of his kids looked like he was dressed up as him in his heyday. You had the kid in the unitard, and you had the kid in the back possibly dropping a deuce in the background.
Yeah, again, I have no idea what was going on in that scene. I don't know what possessed him to think like that would be okay. I guess people laughed, but at the same time, people are like, what is going on?
Yeah, that was true. I also enjoyed, like, I think the guy who gained the most from this draft was Roger Goodell, because when the draft starts, he's a little stiff. He's trying to be corporate. He has the blazer on. But then as the draft goes on, we start getting more casual Goodell, because, like, he switches from the blazer to the pullover sweater. Then eventually he's sitting in the chair. He's eating the M&Ms. He's leaning back in the chair at the end of Friday night and making the picks with his feet up. Like, and then we see him on Saturday interviewing with the T-shirt and the khakis on and seeing more human Roger. And I think casual Goodell was a winner.
Yeah, I thought he was stiff for a majority of the draft, and understandably so, because there's not a live audience, so you're like kind of have to like fake it and be a little bit more enthusiastic about things. And this isn't a slight on Roger Goodell. I probably blame the producers more, but I thought it was so awkward every time that before he announced the pick that he would turn to the television screen with the fans booing, and then face the camera and announce the pick. It just didn't look right. I thought he also like stumbled a bunch through reading the teleprompter, or anytime like they had a special guest and they brought it back to him, just thanking them. Oh, thank you, Offset, for your support. Like it was just so not like genuine. It was a little cringeworthy. But I agree. Like by the end of the draft, when he's in like the T-shirt and khakis, like I know the NFL had to put him out there in a suit, and it had to be corporate, right? It is serious, and it's an event, and you want to look good. But like, imagine if Roger Goodell was just chilling in that chair the entire time in a T-shirt and khakis, just announcing the picks with the fans in the background booing. I think like that would have hit home even more. Like, how many people right now are stuck working at home and are literally just wearing sweats and like a dress shirt every day, or sweats every day with a sweater? Like that hit home because that's how everyone is. That's how everyone's acting right now. So I think like if they would have played that off some more, it would have been better.
Yeah, I did like the point where like he stopped standing and started sitting in the chair to do the picks. Especially with the sweater on front, I felt like he was about to read us a Christmas story.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like he was about to read us a Christmas story as well.
Yeah, that was fun. Let's get to some of the teams in this draft. We'll start with the locals. Start with the Giants. And first round pick, they get Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. Dave Gettleman basically goes after two areas mostly. He gets his hog mollies. He gets 3 offensive linemen. He gets a couple of players for his secondary, including Xavier McKinney in the second round. What do you think of the Giant draft?
Yeah, I thought they had a great draft. I thought Gettleman nailed it. I mean, he came out and he said that he wanted to build that offensive line. He wanted to address the needs. And he did that. I mean, and that's key when you're talking about Giants football. You look at that roster right now. You got a young quarterback. You got a really young running back. I mean, you want to protect those guys, and the easiest way to protect those guys is to get good guys to block for them. So I thought they really nailed it, and they attacked another need in secondary. The McKinney pick was great. I mean, he has the potential of being their next Landon Collins. I mean, the kid had a phenomenal college career. So I really thought the Giants took a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I thought they did a very good job in this draft. I would have liked to see them spread the wealth a little bit more, because I know they could have used an edge rusher. They could have possibly taken another receiver. Maybe you spread it out, but I can't fault Gettleman for going, you know what, like, I have to fix this offensive line. I throw as many resources as I can. I have to fix the problem.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I think, other than the offensive lineman and the secondary, I mean, he drafted all linebackers. You never know what you're going to get with those linebackers. They're all pretty much late picks, but if you could get one of them to be something, you're going to look back at this draft and it could be a real foundation for the New York Giants for the upcoming years.
Yeah, it definitely could. Let's go to my team. Let's go to the Jets. What do you think of the Jet draft?
To be honest, I thought for the most part that Joe Douglas did a very solid job in his first draft. I don't think he necessarily reached too much on anyone, and he hit two of the biggest needs in offensive tackle and wide receiver, and he did that early. I thought that was key. A couple things that I questioned a little bit. I thought they should have took a corner probably a little earlier. They add Bryce Hall, who's coming off ankle surgery. So, not a lot of, there's a lot of potential, but there is reason to be concerned there. I also thought they may have snagged a couple more wide receivers, not three, but maybe a second wide receiver to throw in the bunch. I mean, you lose Robbie Anderson, you got to replace him. You're putting a lot of stock in Mims to make an impact right away. It would have been nice to add a little bit more competition to the wide receiver depth chart. And the other thing that I was a little confused about was the fourth round decision to take a quarterback. I mean, I think you could still get some great value in that fourth round and, possibly get an impact. I don't know about an impact player, but a player that's going to, have a substantial role on your team. You got Sam Darnold. He's going to be turning 23. I mean, I don't know. I think it was a little too early to try to find even a developmental quarterback.
Yeah, I get those concerns. The two things I like about Douglas is, like, number one, he wasn't cute with the draft. The Jets sometimes tend to be like, we're going to take the best player on the board. We'll take another interior defensive lineman because he was the number one player on our board. He took guys that they needed. The optimal strategy going in this draft was tackle receiver. His first two picks were tackle receiver. He didn't overthink that, which is number one. And number two, I also like the fact that he read the room correctly with the Denzel Mims situation at 48, where as I was in that group chat with Martino and Will Schneiderhan, and we were sitting there talking about, like, they got to take him. They trade back 11 picks, get him anyway, turn that one pick into 3 extra picks, essentially, and add some depth to the roster. I think the fact that he had an idea of how to read the room and how to maneuver in the draft was definitely a help.
Oh, definitely. And that goes a long way. And if you see that early on, I mean, again, you know this more than anyone, right? You build your teams via the draft, and if you continue to draft well, the more you draft well, the better you're going to bet. The better you're going to be, the quicker you're going to be at a Super Bowl. So it's definitely a positive sign. I'd be happy if I was a Jet fan. If I was a Giants fan as well. I mean, again, I don't see either of these teams both. If you're going to give them a grade, anywhere between B plus. I mean, you got some guys giving them A's and A minus. I mean, I think they both did very well.
Yeah, I love these teams draft, and they kind of did what we were expected from them. We basically knew what they needed. They went out and addressed those needs. There were some surprises though. What do you think was the biggest surprise of the draft?
Yeah, I think it has to do with two teams that took quarterbacks. And I think it's the Green Bay Packers taking Jordan Love and not only drafting a quarterback, but trading up for a quarterback. And I was also a little bit surprised with the Eagles' decision to take Jalen Hurts.
Why? I think those definitely big surprises. I think the Hurts thing, boggled my mind because that's a big ask for a guy's going to be your backup quarterback. Packers thing we'll get to more in a bit. But I'm going to go to real quick. Like, who do you think were the biggest winners? Like, who killed the draft?
I got a few teams. I mean, so I think the Ravens did excellent. Like, I think the Ravens really added some ballers to this team. I mean, Patrick Queen fell into their lap. Devin Duvernay a little bit later, the wide receiver from Texas. Malik Harrison, the outside linebacker. I mean, it seemed like everyone was falling right into place for that team, and like you saw the excitement from Harbaugh. I think they were already a very good team. They improved on both sides of the ball. Like, their defense only got stronger through this draft. You gave Lamar Jackson a potential new target for him. I thought the Cowboys had an excellent draft. CeeDee Lamb falling to them, taking a corner in Trevon Diggs, Neville Gallimore. I mean, they got better on both sides of the ball. The Vikings, it pains me to admit it, but they get rid of Diggs, and they turn Diggs into Justin Jefferson and some more picks. They take the corner from TCU at 31. Then to start day 2, they grab the offensive lineman in Ezra Cleveland, who a lot of people had projected possibly round 1. Another team, the Cardinals. Isaiah Simmons dropping to them. Thinking about the combination of Simmons and Chandler Jones is pretty wild. And then another guy drops to them who was projected to be in the first round, and Josh Jones. So, I mean, you pair that up with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason, and you're like, wow, like the defense got better, the offense got better. They look good.
Yeah, those were definitely some interesting teams as well. The Vikings, I mean, they just felt like they were picking every other turn on day 3. They had so many picks, and I have to say also, we go back to like the quarantine situations of these executives and coaches with their setups there. I mean, like, you had two of the more iconic quarantine setups there with the Mike Zimmer Ranch with like 3 like deer heads on the wall, or in Jerry Jones's Bond villain yacht.
Jerry Jones's yacht was unbelievable. Like that literally looked like it was from a movie. Did they ever say where the yacht was?
I don't think they ever said where the yacht was. I remember, like, I tweeted about it. I said it looks like it's the inside of like Dr. No's lair combined with like the interior hospitality area inside the parks in Westworld. That's like where I thought Jerry Jones' yacht was.
Now that I think about it, it kind of looks like the inside of Dr. Evil's, space, inside his like home, basically.
Yeah, well, Jerry's got the draft on that yacht every year now. How well they did.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. And I mean, they get a new coach in Mike McCarthy, and now there's like no excuses. There's no excuses for that. I mean, he's got weapons all over the place on that offense. Like, you got to shut up and play now.
Yeah, they do. And we'll go the other direction. He gave out some hardware for the winners. Who blew this draft?
I think the Raiders, they're one team that blew the draft. I mean, they obviously needed a wide receiver 1. And I was surprised. I don't know about you. I was surprised they decided to go with the speedster and Ruggs rather than going with Judy or CeeDee Lamb. They needed a corner. I thought they reached with Arnett from Ohio State. I mean, a lot of people had this guy going in the second round. And then when they were back on the clock in the third round, like, listen, I'm all for like drafting multiple people at multiple positions, especially if it's a position at need. But you go back to back wide receivers, like, look at the board, look at the roster. Like, there's other needs there. You could have really built something special with the amount of picks that you had, and you just didn't read the room the right way. You didn't read the board properly. Another team, though, I thought the Chicago Bears. They had a light draft, obviously, because of the Khalil Mack trade. But I thought it was a reach getting Kmet, the tight end, from Notre Dame at 43, especially since they drafted Jimmy Graham. They signed Jimmy Graham. And with that being said, I wanted to make a joke on Twitter about, the Bears having 35 million tight ends, but I couldn't even do that because the Packers decided to take a quarterback in the first round. But I mean, look at their roster. They have nine tight ends. And another team that I thought surprisingly didn't draft so well were the Patriots. I mean, this just seemed like total rebuild after losing Brady. They loaded up on defense. They drafted 2 tight ends. I mean, I could totally see this team trying to, just pound the ball on the run and just escape victory by victory. Hopefully the defense is strong enough. Tells me they're pretty uncertain to how that play is going to be with whoever ends up being the quarterback there.
Yeah, I think the Bears thing is dead on. I think that they had 10 tight ends on the roster right now. It's just absolutely absurd. And in fact, also, like Jimmy Graham, the people forget about this. Not only did they sign Jimmy Graham, they gave Jimmy Graham a no trade clause for no reason whatsoever. I still don't understand the math behind that one.
Oh, it's absurd. I mean, they gave him so much money, and I mean, I don't know what they're paying. I guess they decided to pay Jimmy Graham on his like past performance because it wasn't like he did anything phenomenal in Green Bay. Let's be honest.
No, he was pretty bad there. I do have some other ones who I think New England's dead on as well because like Belichick said basically like it was not by design to not take a quarterback or a receiver in the draft, but they needed both of those things badly. I mean, they had no weapons in that team whatsoever, and they're relying on Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer to be the quarterback right now, which is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, no, I have a hard time believing that you're that confident in either of those guys. Again, who knows what Stidham could be. Maybe he's a lot better than you think, but at the same time, I think they may have their eyes on a quarterback in next year's draft. We'll say that.
My theory on what happened there is I think that Bill wanted Jalen Hurts, and he was stunned the Eagles actually took him in the second round.
Really?
Yeah, because you had the Alabama connection where he played for Saban. He and Saban are like great friends. He has a bit of that mobility factor now. It's all raising NFL, and Hurts is like a smart player. He's a good team player. I feel like that's the kind of quarterback Bill will want on that roster. Give him some options. And when the Eagles took him in the second round, I don't think Bill's expecting that.
It makes sense. I think he's in a tough spot because I mean, look at the quarterback that he's had over the years in Tom Brady. And it definitely isn't easy replacing a guy like Tom Brady. So, I think he wants to roll and see with what he has. And again, maybe in the AFC you could skate by in the AFC East. I know the Bills are much better. You would anticipate that the Dolphins will be much better after their 30 million picks. You would assume that the Jets would be, a little bit improved if Sam Darnold continues to take a step in the right direction. But you never know. Sometimes if that defense is strong enough and that's his bread and butter, you could win 10 games, 9 or 10 games, and somehow sneak into the playoffs, and then it's a whole new season.
Indeed it is. Joe, you want to stick around for a minute? Help me open up the fan forum this week.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to open the fan forum right after this.